What is the creepiest / most disturbing internet rabbit hole you've gone down, and why? I bought my brother a taser from Amazon for his birthday one time. Looking at some of the questions, there was one asking if it hurt. The answer went something like, "It does not. I've tased myself in the neck 30 times. Very interested in this, I go to his Amazon profile where you can see what else he has reviewed, and he reviewed a katana and stuff like that of similar nature. Still interested, so I type his name into Facebook and find a profile with a picture of him holding his katana. The first thing I notice is that he's from my city. Second thing is there are so many people posting to his Facebook saying he's the devil and they can't believe what he done and that they hope he rots and stuff like that. Extremely interested at this point, I Google his name and find news articles that he stabbed a guy in the chest in his apartment with a katana. Then fled and was later caught by police. Turns out he was very delusional and really needed help. He's now in jail, and according to the article looks like he's getting the help he needs. It was a very wild ride from just looking at the stupid questions people ask about products on Amazon. Edit. I ordered this stun gun on July 31, 2018. The article linked was posted on July 25, 2018. Web link. Blogs by people who are obsessed with losing limbs and or having them replaced with hooks, etc. Some went through with accidents where they mashed their hands beyond repair in order to achieve their goal. Reminds of that guy from South Africa who had a blog I came across a few years ago. His thing was amputations, and he badly wanted to get his perfectly healthy foot amputated for whatever reason. He felt like it didn't belong to his own body. He would inflict injuries to his foot by cutting it with a knife, and then put it in a bucket full of his own poop to cause infection. It was all documented, with daily pictures. You could literally see the daily progression of his foot rotting and becoming black, until one day he stopped posting. He came back a few weeks later and wrote he almost died. He had passed out because of a bad case of sepsis, blood infection, and his landlord found him in the bathroom. Crazy stuff. And yes, he came back from hospital with his foot amputated. Success. The emotional whiplash made me laugh way harder at this than I should have. There was one doing the rounds recently on here with the guy that gave his own hands frostbite by keeping them in dry ice, so they had to be amputated. That one kept popping up on the various outrage subs for a few weeks. How does that sort of thinking even start, I wonder? Hey, it'd be kind of cool to have an eye patch. And then it goes downhill from there. Pulled up a site once that had pictures of celebs that were taken after they died, the most prominent one I remember being that of Chris Farley. That's something I'll never forget. My brother killed himself with a friend last Halloween while hiking Mount Rainier. Their bodies were discovered by some hikers who proceeded to upload pics of their bodies to a gay death fetish site. I guess some info got out, but now every week I get people contacting me about his body, asking me if I have more pics or blaming my family for his death through whatever social media they can find, mostly his memorial page. It can be extremely mean. It doesn't bother most of my family much. We know how to deal with trolls and perverts, but it destroys my mom. Never forget the purpose of the communities you visit. To you, that celebrity site is just a passing curiosity, but this is a site with an active community that seeks out corpses to wank to. They are highly effed up at best, and are likely extremely dangerous considering some of these threats I've gotten. Holy crap, I'm Ben's sister. Man, what are the chances I'd meet you for the first time like this? I'm so sorry this is how we meet. I'd like to help you and your family out any way I can, even if it's just jumping on Discord and chatting. I can't fly out due to work, but nearly anything short of that is on the table. Please tell me if you'd like the parent post removed. I'll do so in a heartbeat. Absolutely not. Like you said, we are used to dealing with trolls. I want the world to know their story. But wow, that was crazy reading your comment. I was like, did I write this? We should definitely talk sometime. I'm on Messenger under my real name. Add me. I normally wouldn't reply, but it's like you two were meant to talk. Sending love to you both. Now that is truly beyond effed up, and I'm sorry that's happening to you and your family. Pensive face. Same, except I stumbled upon it by accident. Awful. Took me a few years to watch anything he was in. Reminds me of the recent Even with the Kobe Bryant photos. They weren't leaked, but someone brought up the coroner had to make sketches of his condition. The crazy thing is the sketches he made of his body, Even though it's a line drawing, it's crazy and almost fictional, the brutality that was done to his body through the crash. My friend was killed in a tornado disaster. His GF's dad went looking for him, found him like a mile away in the Walmart parking lot. All he would describe was a fist-sized hole in his head. I can't really even fathom what he truly saw. Saudi Arabia's leading executioner, Mohammed Saad al-Beshi. He mostly decapitates people with a sword. I watched/read interviews with him. I wanted to know if that crap haunts him. No, it doesn't. He's already teaching his son to follow in his footsteps. His children also help him clean the blood off his sword. Then I started looking into what was considered capital offenses and other punishments used. Stoning is one. Certain crimes will get the beheaded body crucified. If I'm getting beheaded and crucified, that's the order I'd prefer. Looking up pictures of people who hit the ground after falling from great heights. I looked it up mostly out of morbid curiosity. Definitely would not recommend for anyone with a weak stomach. One of the worst things I've seen is a video of a guy trying to commit suicide by jumping off a building, but he lands on one of those big concrete bollards and it literally goes inside him. There was even a close-up in the video of him still alive with this huge lump in his shoulder from the top of the bollard. Oh crap, I remember that one. It went through his entire body and it shook me when he remained alive. Those couple of minutes must have been horrific. Unit 731. What they did is really effed up. In other tests, subjects were deprived of food and water to determine the length of time until death, placed into low-pressure chambers until their eyes popped from the sockets, experimented upon to determine the relationship between temperature, burns, and human survival, electrocuted, placed into centrifuges and spun until death, injected with animal blood, exposed to lethal doses of X-rays, subjected to various chemical weapons inside gas chambers, injected with seawater, and burned or buried alive. Getting placed into a centrifuge and spun until death sounds horrendous. That story and the story of the dude who ultimately died when he ended up stuck with his head down in a deep awkward cave makes me feel intensely claustrophobic. I would want an instant death switch I could hit rather than suffering like that. The Nutty Putty Cave? Reading that still haunts me. Imagine dying in a place that rhymes, F. You'd probably pass out in a centrifuge and then death by lack of oxygen/blood reaching vital organs due to the immense forces. A straightforward guy wrote down his experiences with heroin. Basically, he wanted to try it for fun and he was sure that he had enough willpower to stop after that. Well, he was wrong. Probably someone can remember the name of the guy or the Reddit post. It's fairly well known, I believe. Same thing happened on a Norwegian forum. Some guy asked how to shoot up, and the thread turned into a years-long diary of him becoming an addict and failing to quit. Then he just stopped posting and sometime later, it was revealed he had died. Turned into a media case for a while, his mom was interviewed and stuff. Researching attachment therapy, as used on kids diagnosed with attachment disorders, aka holding time, compression therapy, coercive restraint therapy, rebirthing. I don't feel like typing out the details, but a quote from Wiki and link is below. It's messed up and has resulted in several child deaths and lots of long-lasting trauma. I have no idea why I kept reading and watching videos, etc., but I spent an entire night researching it. It was horrifying. Maybe I felt like I owed it to the victims to read their stories. I don't remember. A central feature of many of these therapies is the use of psychological, physical, or aggressive means to provoke the child to catharsis, ventilation of rage, or other sorts of acute emotional discharge. To do this, a variety of coercive techniques are used, including scheduled holding, binding, rib cage stimulation, for example, tickling, pinching, knuckling, and/or licking. Children may be held down, may have several adults lie on top of them, or their faces may be held so they can be forced to engage in prolonged eye contact. Sessions may last from 3 to 5 hours, with some sessions reportedly lasting longer. Edit. I'm glad this thread seems to have given catharsis and clarity to some recipients of this abusive therapy and other forms of abuse, and a space to share and discuss stories. To all of these people, I am so sorry. I wish all of you the best in healing, moving forward, and flourishing. Edit 2. Someone has created a sub for survivors of attachment therapy. r/survivor web link. Reddit link. I listened to a podcast where a girl was stuffed into a couch and had 3 grown-ass adults sit on her to keep her in while she was panicking. She was so scared she released her bowels all over herself. She went limp and they thought it was working, but she actually had died, and then they didn't call the cops immediately because they didn't know if she'd wake up or not when she was clearly dead. There is a effing name for this. This happened to me. Reactive attachment disorder youth here. Hi. Thank you for giving me the title of this treatment, it'll help me explain things. Many people seem to react as if I am exaggerating when I mention crap from foster care. I feel weird now. I'm going to go try and take a nap. Oh my god, I'm so sorry you had to go through that. I'm glad you have a label for what you went through now, and a way to explain it to others. It's awful to lack the tools to describe or validate your experiences, and have people think you're crazy or making stuff up because of that. I wish you all the best in any healing and moving forward. Like Candace Newmaker? My stepmother used to do these things to me. I came out of severe neglect and trauma from my previous household. She said she knew what she was doing because she had a minor in psychology. I never understood why she did those things until now. She said I had an attachment disorder when I started living with them. I do remember not having the ability to cry. She would push me to my emotional breaking point of sadness or anger over and over again. Through it, they would demand I look them in the eye. They would also wrap me, 17 in blankets and cradle me on their laps. Cave diving accidents. They're always tragic and sad and insanely common in the community due to the dangers of cave diving. But they have been to some of the most untouched areas of Earth, and I kind of get the need to keep exploring even if it's dangerous. I read about a pair of blokes who realized their line had snapped and they were trapped in an air pocket with only enough oxygen for one of them to try and escape for help. Dude had to wait in the pitch black for hours not knowing if his friend had reached help or died along the way. Scares the crap out of me. I can barely bring myself to swim under small stuff in safe swimming pools. I've never tried diving and I really don't think I could conquer that fear. What was the result? I can't go without answers. They both survived. The friend made it out and a search crew went in for the second. There are some, not too graphic, videos on YouTube of recovered footage from divers that recorded their last dive. An especially heartbreaking one was a dude who dived to recover the body of a friend who died in a cave, and ended up dying there too. You can see him slipping on the floor, fumbling a knife while trying to cut some kind of rope, the panic setting in. Just terribly sad. That second story you mentioned is described, SFW. It's a long read, but Outside Magazine does an outstanding job. Web link. I recommend anyone vaguely interested in this to read this article. It's so sad and so interesting and very well written. Glad to see you posted it. If you hadn't, I was going to. I have fallen down too. Both lasted about a week. First was John/Jane Does who have never been claimed or identified. Second was people who have disappeared without a trace. I feel this one tugged more on my emotional strings, especially stories involving kids. One that has stuck with me is a little boy who disappeared on a scout hike, Jared Negrete. That is one of my greatest fears when I take kids hiking. It was that kid's first time sleeping away like that, heartbreaking. I've gotten down the missing person hole on occasion too. Asha Degree is one that stuck with me, and I still check now and then if there's any updates. The murder of Junko Furuta. Just read it. Those kids are literal effing demons. Even most cartel tortures don't last that long. Poor girl, literally suffered for absolutely nothing. And to think that the kids that did it are still out today. They're free? What the effity FF? Yeah, they were all minors at the time, and thus given relatively light sentences under Japanese law. They weren't even charged with murder, just bodily injury leading to death. They've all since been released. The ringleader Hiroshi Miyano got 20 years. Since being released, he's went back into gang activity and been arrested for fraud, but has managed to avoid any convictions. Joe Ogura got 8 years. Since being released, he's boasted about his involvement in raping and murdering Furuta, and he wound up serving another 7 years for kidnapping and torturing a guy he thought his girlfriend was cheating on him with. During that kidnapping, which lasted 4 days, he threatened to kill the guy and told him that he had gotten away with murder before. He's currently free again. Nobuharu Minato got 9 years. Since being released, he went back into gang activity and is currently on trial for attempting another murder. Yasushi Watanabe got 7 years, and is the only one to have not reoffended since his release. None of the family members who helped them house and hide Furuta were charged in any way, and several of them have actually tried to blame it all on Furuta. Yeah, the system tried them as minors because the oldest perpetrators was 18 years old. Most of them only got 7 to 8 years. That's the one that effed me up the last time I followed this sort of Ask Reddit. That one was rough. Every time this gets mentioned, I reread the accounts, thinking I'm going to find that one thing I never noticed before that sheds light on how it was possible for this to happen, with so many participants, so many complicit people, and essentially no consequences. Of course, I never find it. The fact that they were caught by a fluke makes it even worse. They all almost got away with it, and her body would have likely never been found. It sickens me every time she's brought up that her killers rejoined society. All but one have been arrested again for violent crimes. Yeah. This case broke me. It's one of the most awful and terrifying things I've ever read. Ogura's mother allegedly vandalized Furuta's grave, stating that she had ruined her son's life. What the F? Crap people come from crap people. Effing hell. Just read about it. Incredible how cruel humans can be. I can't imagine the pain and fear this girl went through. I just read about it too. The fact that even at the end, just before she died, she was still trying to put out the flames, there was a part of her that still wanted to live. It's horrible. That is easily the worst story I've ever read about. I watched a video about her when I was around 9 years old. The video talked about it in full detail. I saw it while going through my FB feed, then saw the video saying this is not for the faint of heart, and I thought, I'm brave enough. I can do this. I finished the video, and to this day, that was the most disturbing thing I ever knew about. Even the mention of it just makes me uncomfortable. Well, crap. Not even 7 a.m. and that's enough internet already. Nothing I've come across online has bugged me more than reading about her murder. I couldn't get it out of my head for days. What kills me is that those mother effers were tried as juveniles, not adults. F everything about that. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.